It's Flashcards Friday at Math Science History. I'm Gabrielle Burchak, your host. On Tuesday, I talked about the history of taxes, from ancient levies to modern systems, and how taxes have shaped governments, revolutions, and everyday life. Today, I'm staying with that theme, but on a more relatable level. This Flashcards Friday is about something many of us are feeling right now: how to deal with overwhelm when you're working on your taxes. But first, a quick word from my advertisers. Tax season can feel like the perfect storm. Numbers, deadlines, and that lurking fear of, what if I mess this up? Even if you like math, which I love math, tax math is different because it's soaked in emotion and uncertainty. So, in this episode, I'm going to give you 3 flashcards, 3 practical ideas to help you get through tax season with a little more calm and a little more self-compassion. I could learn a thing or two from this podcast myself. So let's start with what's happening in your brain when you feel tax overwhelm. Have you ever opened your tax software, looked at the first screen, and then immediately wanted to close your laptop and go reorganize your sock drawer? I know I did. I have. My socks are organized, to say the least. But this isn't laziness. It's your brain quietly waving a little white flag. Cognitive scientists tell us that overwhelm happens when your working memory, your brain's temporary desk space, gets overloaded. When that space is cluttered, it's harder to think clearly, remember steps, or make decisions. Sometimes socks are easier to organize. Now, add financial stress on top of that. Studies on financial anxiety show that money worries can hijack your mental bandwidth and make it harder for you to focus, plan, and even sleep. This is sometimes called a bandwidth tax. Your brain is so busy worrying that it has less capacity left for everything else. So when you sit down to do your taxes, you're not just entering numbers, you're juggling forms, rules, deadlines, and fears about the future all at once. No wonder your brain wants to escape. And if I could, I would just reach through the interwebs and give you a little hug right now, because it's going to be okay. The good news is that even though you can't make taxes vanish, you can make them more manageable. So let's start with flashcard number 1. Break down complexity like a data scientist. In other words, break it into chunks. Think about early data scientists and computer pioneers, like the mathematicians who first figured out how to handle huge amounts of information with very limited computing power. They couldn't process everything at once, so they broke big problems into small, modular tasks. You can treat your taxes the same way. So instead of saying, I'm going to do my taxes tonight, which is enormous and vague, try breaking it into very small, specific steps. For example, today's job is only to collect all my income forms. That's it. Tomorrow's job is to gather deductible expenses, such as receipts, charity donations, or business costs. And then the next day's job will be to enter just one category into the tax software. Each little step frees up working memory because your brain can only hold one clear task at a time. And each time you finish a step, you get a tiny sense of completion, a little dopamine hit that makes the next step feel more doable. And if you like analogies, think of it this way. You're not trying to eat the whole tax tofu elephant in one bite. You're taking one small forkful at a time. Yes, I said tofu. We don't eat elephants. So for flashcard number 1, here is your mantra. Just say, I don't do taxes. I do one small tax task at a time. Tax task. That's a mouthful. Okie dokie. Now on to flashcard number 2. Use numbers to name them and then to tame your anxiety. It's kind of math nerdy, and it really helps also when you're learning math. So, when we think about money, the brain's alarm system, the amygdala, tends to light up. Financial stress has been linked to higher levels of stress hormones like cortisol and can make it harder to think clearly or sleep well. In other words, your brain can go into danger mode before you even open the calculator. So instead of trying to ignore that feeling, try to measure it. The next time you feel that knot in your stomach about taxes, try this experiment. 1. Ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen? Maybe it's I'll owe way more money than I expect, or I'll make a mistake and get in trouble. 2. Then give that fear a number. Ask yourself, on a scale from 0 to 100, how likely will this happen? Maybe your first instinct is, oh, it's a 90, I'm doomed. And that's okay. Write down that number. Now, look at your evidence. Have you been careful with your records in the past years? You probably have. Are you using software or a professional who double checks your return? You probably have. Have you ever gotten into serious trouble from an honest filing mistake? So, update your number based on the evidence. Maybe your fear will drop from 90 to 40% or even 20%. What you are doing is a kind of Bayesian thinking, starting with a fear-based guess and then adjusting it as you look at the real data. This moves you from raw emotion toward reason. It doesn't magically erase anxiety, but it gives your brain something concrete to hold on to. Your worry goes from infinite and vague to measurable and manageable. So for flashcard number 2, your mantra is, when I'm scared, I put a number on it, then I update that number with real evidence. And actually, this trick works for a lot of things, not just taxes, like public speaking or doing a presentation at work or going in for a job interview. Just think of that fear, write down the number, and then update it with real evidence. All right, on to flashcard number 3. Remember the story that you are part of. I love this one. It's one of my favorites, actually, and it helps me get through my taxes. So on Tuesday, I talked about how taxes have been around for thousands of years, funding roads, armies, temples, schools, and public projects that bind societies together. Whether it was grain levies in ancient kingdoms or income taxes in modern democracies, taxes have always been a way of pooling resources to build something larger than any one person. And this is where you come in. When you sit down with your W-2s or 1099s, it's easy to see only the headache. But here's another way to look at it. Your tax return is also a story of your year. The income you earned, the causes you supported, the business you tried to grow, the family you cared for. It's not just bureaucracy. It's a snapshot of how you participated in your community's life. So instead of thinking, ugh, I have to do my taxes, you might experiment with, I am taking stock of a year of my life. I'm accounting for how I contributed, what I built, and to assess what I can change because self-change is good. Psychologists have found that when we connect stressful tasks to a sense of meaning or purpose, our brains experience less stress and more motivation. You're still doing the same forms, but now they're connected to something bigger and they're connected to you and your heart and your mind. So for flashcard number 3, your mantra is, this isn't just paperwork, it's my year in numbers and how it connects to the people I love, my ambitions, and my own personal growth. And I'm part of a much bigger equation. Here's a quick recap. Let's put your 3 flashcards together. Flashcard 1, break complexity into chunks. You're not doing taxes. You're doing one small, clearly defined task at a time. Flashcard number 2, use numbers to tame anxiety. When fear shows up, give it a number, then update that number with real evidence. And then flashcard number 3, remember the bigger story. Your taxes are not just a bill. They are a record of how you participated in your world this year. You don't have to do any of this perfectly. You don't have to be fearless. You just have to keep showing up in small, manageable ways. And please share something positive with me. I want to hear about your wonderful year while you were doing the dreaded taxes. So before I conclude, I want to do a throwback to Tuesday's episode. And I know I opened it with a little bit of Monty Python. And with this one, I'm going to close with a little bit of Monty Python. If tax season has you overwhelmed this week, you are not alone. People have been wrestling with tax obligations and the feelings that come with them for as long as we have had civilizations. Or, to quote from the life of Brian, they've taken everything we had, and not just from us, from our fathers, and from our fathers' fathers, and from our fathers' fathers' fathers, and from our fathers' 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 fathers. So when you're done doing your taxes, go watch The Life of Brian. I'm sure it will cheer you up. You are part of a long human story of trying to make sense of numbers, responsibility, and fairness. And that alone is something to be proud of. Until next time, carpe diem, my friends.